Captain's Log, September 14th, 2016, with Chris Campbell at the at the local Kava bar in Berkeley.
Called?
What is this place called? I forgot the name of the place. We'll figure that out.
Otherwise, yeah.
I have been traveling with Chris here for the past... How long have we been traveling together now?
A little over 2 weeks.
A little over 2 weeks,
Yeah.
including Burning Man.
Yeah.
So we went to Burning
counts.
Man. That counts. And then found the magic school bus out of Burning Man.
Yep.
Hung out with people.
With Pollitt.
Yeah. And we took the slow route
Yeah.
through Tahoe and Nevada City and other spots, ultimately back to the Bay,
6 different
where we are
cities.
today. Was it 6 different cities?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Close to
Tahoe City, South Lake Tahoe. So, to introduce who you are, that's your title. You're the managing editor.
Managing editor of Laissez, Faire today.
Cool. What's badass, I think, about what you're doing is you kind of, you can do what I'm doing now, just travel around and work from wherever.
Yeah.
You've been working this whole time we've been traveling, as
Yeah.
have I, actually. You know, we both like skip away and go to cafes and whatnot. But yes, you've been posting content like every day, basically.
I publish 6 days a week.
Yeah.
LFB.org, shameless plug.
Plug away, man. And in fact, you recently this week put out a couple pieces where I was mentioned too. So people who like the bullshit I spit on this podcast might be interested in reading some of the bullshit I spit in an interview that you did there. We talked about the drug war. We talked about we did Kratom a couple
A few days ago. In Nevada City. At a place called Elixart. Highly recommended.
Yeah, Kratom, which is now a Schedule 1 substance, or will soon to be Schedule 1 substance
Yeah.
by the DEA, which is what got us on the subject of cognitive liberty and all this stuff.
Yeah. So the article with his interview is called Cognitive Liberty, Psychedelics, and the Drug War.
And we can link to it in the show notes. But yeah, man. Now, so more about like you though. I mean, you were also living in Baltimore, where we met.
For 4 years, yep.
Yeah. And you came out to one of the seminars with Michael Wood, who's with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition.
Yeah.
He spoke a couple months ago at a seminar I was hosting. And nowadays you're a professional nomad at this point.
Yeah. No base whatsoever.
Yeah. Which is always a fun space to be in.
Yeah, it's weird. It takes a while to get acclimated to it. The uncertainty of like not knowing where you're gonna sleep in 3 days.
Right. I still don't technically know where I'm sleeping tonight. I need to like put out some calls to some friends.
You seem better at it than I am, actually.
I had a lot of experience improvising.
Yeah.
Not so much in the States though. You know, and did this kind of travel in India and Asia. This is really probably one of the first times to this extent I've been traveling this open within the States.
Right. Yeah, me too, basically.
Did a little travel last year after Burning Man, but that was a little bit more structured and scheduled than this time. It's fun.
It's totally fun.
For me, it was the intention behind Burning Man this year was to get into that flow state again.
Yeah.
Just flow with what happens.
And it definitely happens, as we saw.
Yeah. So, and we're going to be traveling together for a bit.
Yeah, we're going to be at Symbiosis next week, September 22nd through the 25th, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to Prague to the Beyond Psychedelics conference.
Yep. Yeah, we both just booked plane tickets to Prague. So we are officially going to Prague in like 2 weeks. Yeah. Which would be cool. We've got quite the travels ahead. It's been fun, man. So this was your first burn.
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
Everything all rolled into one. I had every single emotion, experienced, a lifetime in a week. It felt like, there's something about it though that just creates synchronicity and and the chaos in it creates like sort of magic.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And there's something we've talked about that I was like struggling with this year a little bit. it was like, do I trust it? You know, because it's
Yeah.
weird how synchronous it gets.
Yeah.
You know?
It really didn't touch off until we left, though, for me.
Yeah, it skyrocketed, I feel
Yeah.
like, once we left.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Well, I know for me, like at Burning Man, and so this is my 3rd year going to Burning Man, and this time I had a much more scheduled burn than I've ever had. I had Psychedelic Stories.
Yeah,
I was
you were
hosting a couple nights.
working
at the Zendo for
Yeah.
psychedelic harm reduction. Basically kind of trip sitting a couple nights. So I had a very highly scheduled burn, and I think it was in the post burn that, at least for me, I was able to be more open and loose. But you experienced that also? That's been more flowy since?
Yeah, after the burn. Yeah, for sure.
Well, maybe we're kind of hanging out together, so we probably vibe off.
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah. It's been a ride, man. That school bus was fucking cool.
Yeah. Paul, Pat, Mercedes, Haley,
Yeah.
Delphina,
Shout outs.
Zuzu, Ra Ra.
Rah rah, yeah.
If you're listening to this,
Yeah, if you're
what up?
listening, we love you.
Yeah.
And we had an awesome time. Yeah, it was just a cast of characters on this school bus. Just kind of traveling along at a leisurely rate. It was kind of like, for me, I had that like kind of dream to do something like that.
Yeah,
Travel around in a bus.
Right,
with
you
some
mentioned
friends.
that.
Lo and behold, we didn't know how we were leaving Burning Man.
Yeah.
But like as it goes, like you were saying, with like this magical flow state, we were trying to find a ride, and of course the perfect thing appears.
Yeah.
There's a school bus that
A
can take
short
us around.
bus with a mustache.
With a mustache. Yeah.
Out of the uncertainty.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, obviously a lot of the focus lately has been on psychedelics too.
Right.
Way more because I'm hanging out with you, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like
me.
people hang out with me, they tend to, there seems to be a lot of psychedelic conversation or partaking.
Yeah. But I mean, even before we left, I was writing about it because I sent you that article, Psychedelics in the War on Drugs.
Right.
And
Well, you found the events at the psychedelic seminar series in Baltimore.
Yeah.
What got you there in the first place?
it was Wood. When
Michael Wood.
Michael Wood.
Oh,
came
he
to
like
speak.
tweeted or something?
I just found the event.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I don't know how. I'm always on the lookout for stuff.
Right. So what got you interested in this stuff?
Got me interested in psychedelics specifically.
Sure,
or-
psychedelics, war on drugs.
I think the war on drugs came first.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, I smoked weed, but I've only done psychedelics a handful of times, and I do see the value in them, obviously, and I'm not a fan of big pharma. I think what they do is gross, and yeah, cognitive liberty. I have the right to do as I wish with my mind, my consciousness, and my will. And so does everybody else.
Yeah. So like kind of the libertarian, philosophy and all the stuff you're working on there bring you into the kind of the war on drugs stuff. Yeah.
It's one of the big. It should be a hot issue for every libertarian.
You would think so, right?
Yeah. And I think it is. I think a lot of libertarians are really passionate about the drug war and what it's done because it extends further than drugs. It allows for the government to strip away people's rights for any reason. If they smell the neighbor smoking pot and they just run into your house because they think it's coming from there and shoot your dog, then there's no retribution because they're like, oh, sorry, we thought somebody was doing something illegal in there.
Right. And civil asset forfeiture.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the government can, and I was shocked when I found out this was actually true. The government can actually take your money without actually finding you guilty of any criminal charges.
Yeah, not even.
You have to actually prove. In a civil case, you have to prove that you weren't.
Yeah, the burden is on you.
The burden is you to prove that this wasn't drug money.
Yeah.
which is absurd because, supposedly you are not to be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law.
Exactly.
Yet somehow the war on drugs ignores that. That's you just ignore the Constitution there.
Yeah.
You would think. I know you were saying you were concerned that some of your readers might be like, it might be too fringe maybe for them talking about this stuff.
Well, I don't know. That's the thing.
It shouldn't be, right?
No, it shouldn't be.
A libertarian philosophy should be, hey, government, get out of my way.
Yeah, exactly.
So if that doesn't apply to your mind and your right to use drugs, then what does it apply to?
Yeah, absolutely. The freedom of thought has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
If you can't freely think, and if you can't freely change your consciousness voluntarily, then what freedom do you have, really?
Right. And it's fucked. You covered, you wrote a piece about the Kratom, when we had their Kratom experience of the day. You wrote about it on your site, and you pointed out something really interesting, which was that there are sort of synthetic versions of the ingredients of Kratom that have been patented.
Yeah.
So what this means when you really take a high level, so the DEA making Kratom illegal means that, okay, the thing that you can grow, you're not allowed, no one is allowed to grow this thing anymore, but if you want access to this medicine, you have to buy it, and there's only this certain person who has the complete monopoly and control over buying it, and you were being forced, can't grow it yourself, you have to buy it through this channel and this channel only. And that epitomizes in a lot of ways a lot of the drug war, if you really break it down, is, so you can't grow poppies, you have to go to the doctor to get your prescription for your Oxycontin.
Right.
You can't grow your own weed.
Yeah. And it goes beyond drugs too. It's like the latest EpiPen controversy where they raised the price, they jacked the price up, and they're the only ones supplying this. It's mostly because the FDA has regulated everyone else out of existence and created a monopoly on something that saves lives.
What is this?
The EpiPen.
What's the EpiPen?
It's so when people get severe allergic reactions, they have one on them, and they take it, and it's like I don't know exactly, but it stops the allergic reaction.
This was made illegal?
No, they just the people who make the EpiPen, they jacked up the price, and it's the only one that people can get.
Oh, they have a patent on it?
Yeah, but the FDA has blocked out all of the competition to it, so it ties in with Kratom, and this is something that's recent too, because when you create a monopoly, it lowers access.
Right.
The more regulations you have on something, the harder it is for people to compete in that space.
Right.
So, and it's just the nature of government.
Right.
The antitrust laws in the 1900s were created for the steel industry and oil industries to block out competition, and those were the original regulations.
Right. Yeah, no, it's been subverted.
It started out corrupt.
Oh.
Those were the original anti-competitive laws.
What was the purpose of it originally?
To block out competition.
Oh,
within the space.
I thought you were talking about like the breaking up the different trusts and whatnot.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, that's what they did.
I thought it was like to create competition.
That was the word on the street, but
so it was presented that way.
Yeah, it was funded by all.
It was presented
the
as like hey, we're breaking this up, but it was just like actually was.
That was subverted, though. Yeah,
right,
totally.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of fucked, man. And this is what bothers me too. When you talk about people say, let's regulate marijuana like alcohol, and that's like this nice respectability politics phrase people love talking about now. Let's regulate marijuana like alcohol. And it sounds nice, but it's like, fuck that. Alcohol is regulated like shit.
Yeah.
You can't sell it on Sundays in places, and like you have to have thousands of dollars to have a license to do this. Artificial barriers to entry to the business. Like, no, to me it's, and there's a lot of, in Symposia we've started putting pieces out about this, and it's been coming up in other, like the Baltimore Sun as well, where like the licensing processes are just kind of not even equal, obviously, right? Because you have to be of a certain class, usually a certain color, certain income levels, to even be able to enter into the marijuana industry. And so it's like marijuana being quote unquote legalized in many cases is actually creating this two-tiered system, backdoor criminalization. And so some people can sell weed.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. It's like as long as there's somebody with the exclusive right to do this, the system's fucked. And as long as there are communities that are still being stomped on, it's still fucked. As long as you can't grow your own weed, bullshit.
Right. Yeah, totally. Legalization does not mean decriminalization. There's a distinction.
I'm a fan of decrim.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm a fan of legalization,
No,
quote unquote.
it opens it up for regulation.
Yeah, regulations that box people out.
Yeah.
And then people who aren't following these certain requirements of how it's quote unquote supposed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can still go in a cage. Well, like if you're still putting people in cages for growing the plants, you've missed the whole point of the human rights issue.
Right.
That is the problem of the war on drugs in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem isn't that middle class people don't have access to drugs. The problem is that people are being put in cages for drugs.
Yeah. And there will be all kinds of unintended consequences. It'll destroy what some areas of town, that's their only economy, is drugs sometimes, and also it'll make them turn to worse drugs like the K2 and the Flocka that they can get for $1 on the street, and they can all the weed is primo, so they're priced out, so they're going to be eating people's faces off.
Of course, that story, it was bath salts or something. Someone with bath salts that ate someone's face. I don't like.
Who knows if that was actually bath salts?
Well, who knows? I think that's a funny thing you see in the drug reform circles too. Is you see, people will still repeat the same sort of patterns from the drug war, like to stigmatize bath salts, or say in the same way that MDMA was stigmatized,
totally.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's I know you were like joking around and whatnot.
Well, these synthetic drugs are no joke, though.
Sure.
They're terrible.
I think there needs to be, certainly we need to be proceeding with caution with everything.
Yeah.
I'm just very hesitant to, I don't want to stigmatize any particular substance in the same way.
Well, I think some drugs should be stigmatized.
Do you?
Crocodile, that should be stigmatized. And the only reason people do it is because they can't afford heroin. And the only reason people smoke Flocka is because they're on probation and they have a drug test and it doesn't show up. These aren't good. These are drugs that people make in like dirty, broken down trailers in the middle of Arizona.
Sure.
Just spraying shit on plant matter and selling it.
Yeah, I guess a lot of it's context.
Yeah.
I'm open to the idea that any of these substances could have a beneficial use, maybe I should say, if used in a certain context setting.
Crocodile, no.
No.
It rots your flesh.
That sounds not fun.
You haven't heard of it?
No, maybe.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So it's big in Russia, and it's just all of these chemicals that they throw together, and it makes you feel like you're on heroin, apparently. But wherever you shoot it in, it's inevitable that flesh will start rotting away. And people just still do it. And it's the whole negative consequence thing, dude. It's an impulse despite negative consequences. They'll take it that far. And like you said, a negative consequence for doing something, for having an impulse despite negative consequences is not the right approach.
Yeah, that was at a conference. It said that a definition of addiction as compulsive behavior despite negative consequences.
Yeah.
And which is an argument against using punishment to stop addiction. But so if you're addicted, so in addition to doing it despite jail,
despite your
you do it
flesh
despite your
rotting away.
Right. That's intense.
Yeah.
Shit. Let's keep our flesh if we can. So what else do you want to talk about, man?
So what do we got going on? San Francisco. Mm-hmm. We got a whole lineup. I don't know when this is going out.
Yeah, I don't know either. But this Saturday I'll be hosting Psychedelic Stories here in San Francisco, or we're in Berkeley now, but San Francisco.
So also, I should say, both you and I are looking for writers, actually.
Yeah.
So we're looking for talent, and you can contact us.
Yeah. You can my email, Mike. I guess I have a Symposia one. I'll give my walking, either Mike at symposia.com or Mike at WTEpodcast.com. They'll both get to me. Okay. Whatever you prefer. And what's yours?
And mine is Campbell at agorafinancial.com.
Campbell is Campbell.
Campbell, like the soup, at agorafinancial.com.
Yeah, and if you have listened this far in the conversation and you are interested in this stuff, then and you want to write about it, hit us up.
Yeah.
And if you're still listening, you probably are interested, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
In these topics.
Yeah, we have opportunities in Laissez, Faire letter, and for Laissez, Faire today, which is what I write, or obviously for Symposia.
And for folks who didn't hear about Symposia already in the previous episodes, as my company, we do a psychedelic magazine and events like the one this Saturday. It's Symposia spelled with a P, PSYMPOSIA.com. And you can see some of the content we have out there. We're looking for writers that are passionate about either psychedelic science, psychoactive experiences, war on drugs. If you've got a perspective to share or a story, you want to hear it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Very good.
I think this has been a good chat.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. That is
This is my first podcast.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
You're no longer
I
a
made
virgin.
It through.
Yeah. Well, that's the Kava cast.
At the Kava cast. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning into the Kava cast, and may the force be with you.
Peace.